Roxbeer Richard III is presented thanks to the Where You Are Festival, but also thank you to Ramada Canberra. They have been supporting Shakespeare by the Lakes for 3 years now, and we couldn't do this production without them. The Diplomat Hotel in Griffith and the Encore Apartments in Belconnen have a promo code TAKE20, which you can enter if you're booking any accommodation or any food and beverage, and it will take $20 off. That's the Diplomat Hotel in Canberra and the Encore Apartments in Belconnen.
Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Live in Your Lounge. Tonight's offering is being presented by the Where You Are Festival, produced by Lakespeare & Co. and has many fantastic producing partners, including Event AV Services, who actually produces this show every single weekend. I just want to say a quick thank you as well to all of you, the hundreds of you who are streaming along at home right now, and an even bigger thank you to those out there who braved the Canberra weather this evening to be a part of our live studio audience. My name is Ryan Banks, and this is Roxbeer Richard III, a slimmed down and unique reimagining of the Shakespearean classic. And here at the lounge, we are very proud to say it has also been directed by a member of the family, the wonderful Lexi Seculis. If you do want to learn anything else about tonight's production or indeed its cast, head over to lakespeare.com/Roxbeer. And while you are there, perhaps you may consider leaving a donation. Lakespeare & Co. is an independent theatre company, and so every little helps. But back to tonight's offering, we'll be splitting the show into two halves of theatrical wonder, with an intermission in between where I'll be interviewing three of this production's prominent figures. And then at the final curtain, I will join them on stage for a live Q&A. So if you've got any burning questions for tonight's cast, flick us a message on Facebook at Lakespeare, and I'll be sure to get them answered for you. Once again, we absolutely could not do tonight without our fantastic partners. Ramada's Canberra's Diplomat Hotel, Event AV Services, Venues Canberra, and Franco's of Canberra, who are responsible for the fantastic hairdos on offer this evening. But for now, that is enough chit-chat from myself. Ladies and gentlemen, please sit back, relax, enjoy an evening at the theatre, and welcome to the stage, Roxbeer Richard III.
Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York, and all the clouds that loud upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now our brows bound with victorious wreaths, grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front. And now instead of mounting barbed steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute. But I, that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking-glass. I that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world, scarce half made up, and that so lamely and unfashionable the dogs bark at me as I halt by them. Why I, in this weak piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time. Therefore, since I cannot prove a lover to entertain these fair, well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain and hate the idle pleasures of these days. Plots have I laid, inductions dangerous by drunken prophecies, libels, and dreams, to set my brothers Clarence and the king in deadly hate the one against the other. And if King Edward be as true and just as I am subtle, false, and treacherous, this day shall Clarence closely be mewed up about a prophecy which says that G of Edward's heirs the murderer shall be. Dive thoughts down to my soul. Here Clarence comes. Brother, good day. What means this armored guard that waits upon your grace?
His Majesty, tendering my person's safety, hath appointed this conduct to convey me to the Tower.
Upon what cause?
Because my name is George.
Alack, my lord. That fault is none of yours. He should for that commit your godfathers. Well, what's the matter, Clarence? May I know?
Yea, Richard, when I know, for I protest, as yet I do not. But as I can learn, he hearkens after prophecies and dreams, and from the crossrow plucks the letter G, and says a wizard told him that by G his issue disinherited should be. And for my name of George begins with G, it follows in his thoughts that I am he.
'Tis not the king that sent you to the Tower, my Lady Grey, his wife, Clarence. 'Tis she that tempers him to this extremity. Was it not she and that her brother there that made him send Lord Hastings to the Tower, from whence this present day she is delivered? We are not safe, Clarence, we are not safe.
By heaven, I think there's no one is secure but the Queen's kindred and night-walking heralds that trudge betwixt the king and his Elizabeth. Heard ye not what a humble suppliant Lord Hastings was to her for her delivery?
Brother, farewell. I will unto the king, and whatsoever you employ me in, I will perform it to enfranchise you. Meantime, this deep disgrace in brotherhood touches me deeper than you can imagine. Go! Tread the path that thou shalt ne'er return. Simple, plain Clarence. I do love thee so that I shall shortly send thy soul to heaven, if heaven will take the present at our hands. But who comes here? The new delivered Hastings.
Good time of day unto my gracious lord.
As much unto my good Lord Chamberlain. Well, are you welcome to the open air? How hath your lordship brooked imprisonment?
With patience, noble lord, as prisoners must. But I shall live, my lord, to give them thanks that were the cause of my imprisonment.
No doubt, and so shall Clarence too, for they that were your enemies are his, and have prevailed as much on him as you.
More pity that the eagle should be nude while kites and buzzards play at liberty.
But what's news abroad?
No news so bad abroad as this at home. The king is sickly, weak, and melancholy.
Ah, he hath kept an evil diet long, and overmuch consumed his royal person. 'Tis very grievous to be thought upon. What, is he in his bed?
He is.
Well, go you before, and I will follow you. He cannot live, I hope, and must not die till George be sent by pack horse up to heaven. I'll in to urge his hatred more to Clarence. And if I fail not in my deep intent, Clarence hath not another day to live, which done, God take King Edward to his mercy, and leave the world for me to bustle in, for then I'll marry Warwick's youngest daughter, although I killed her husband and her father. The readiest way to make the wench amends is to become her husband and her father. But yet, I run before my horse to market. Clarence still breathes. Edward still lives and reigns. When they are gone, then must I count my gains.
Set down your honourable load. Leave. Whilst I a while obsequiously lament the untimely fall of virtuous Lancaster, poor cold figure of a holy king, pale ashes of the house of Lancaster, be it lawful that I invocate thy ghost to hear the lamentations of poor Anne? Oh, cursed be the hand that made these holes. Cursed the heart that had the heart to do it. Cursed the blood that let this blood from hence more direful appetite, that hated wretch, than I can wish to wolves, adders,
Our
toads, or any creeping venom thing that lives.
Hallowed be thy name.
What?
Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done.
What?
On...
Black magician conjures up this fiend.
Sweet saint, for charity be not so cursed.
Foul devil, for God's sake, hence and trouble us not. For thou hast made the happy earth thy hell, filled it with cursing cries, and deep exclaims, if thou delight to view thy heinous deeds, behold this pattern of thy butcheries. Blush, blush, thou lump of foul deformity, for 'tis thy presence that exhales this blood from cold and empty veins where no blood dwells. Thy deeds, inhuman and unnatural, provokes this deluge most unnatural, O God, which this blood makes revenge his death. O earth, which this blood drinks, revenge his death. Either heaven with lightning strike the murderer dead, O earth, gape open wide and eat him quick, as thou dost swallow up this good king's blood, which his hell governed arm hath butchered.
Lady, you know no rules of charity, which renders good for bad, blessings for curses.
Villain, thou knowest no law of God, nor man, no beast so fierce, but know some touch of pity.
But I know none, therefore, and no beast.
Oh, wonderful, when devils tell the truth.
More wonderful when angels are so angry. Vouchsafe divine perfection of a woman, of these supposed evils, to give me leave by circumstance, but to acquit myself.
Vouchsafe diffused infection of a man, of these known evils, but to give me leave by circumstance to curse thy cursed self.
Fairer than tongue can name thee. Let me have some patient leisure to excuse myself.
Fouler than heart can think thee, thou canst make no excuse current but to hang thyself.
By such despair I should accuse myself.
And by despairing shalt thou stand excused for doing worthy vengeance on thyself, that didst unworthy slaughter upon others.
Say that I slew them not.
Oh, why then they are not slain, but dead they are, and devilish slave by thee.
I did not kill your husband.
Oh, why then he is alive?
Nay, he is dead, and slain by Edward's
In
hand.
thy foul throat thou liest. Queen Margaret saw thy murderous falchion smoking in his blood, the which thou once didst bend against her breast, but that thy brothers beat aside the point.
I was provoked by her slanderous tongue, which laid their guilt upon my guiltless shoulders.
Thou wast provoked by thy bloody mind, which never dreamst on aught but butcheries. Didst thou not kill this king?
I grant ye.
Dost grant me, hedgehog? Then God grant me too thou mayest be damned for that wicked deed. He was gentle, mild, and virtuous.
Better for the King of heaven that hath him.
He is in heaven, where thou shalt never come,
Let him thank me to help to send him thither, for he was fitter for that place than earth.
and thou unfit for any place but hell.
Yes, one place else, if you will hear me name it.
Some dungeon,
Your bedchamber.
ill rest betide the chamber where thou liest.
So be it, madam, till I lie with you.
I hope so.
I know so. But gentle Lady Anne, let us leave this keen encounter of our wits and fall somewhat into a slower method. Is not the cause of the timeless deaths of these Plantagenets, Henry and Edward, as blameful as the executioner?
Thou wast the cause and most accursed effect.
Thy beauty was the cause of that effect. Thy beauty which did haunt me in my sleep to undertake the death of all the world, that I might live 1 hour in your sweet bosom.
If I thought that, I tell thee, homicide, these nails should rend that beauty from my cheeks.
These eyes could not endure sweet beauty's wreck. You should not blemish it if I stood by, as all the world is cheered by the sun, so I by that. It is my day, my life.
Black night o'ershade thy day, and death thy life.
Curse not thyself, fair creature, thou art both.
Well, I were to be revenged on thee.
It is a quarrel most unnatural to be revenged on him that loveth
It
you.
is a quarrel just and reasonable to be revenged on him that killed my husband.
He that bereft thee, lady, of thy husband, did it to help thee to a better
Is
husband.
better, doth not breathe upon the earth.
He loves thee better than he could.
Name him.
Plantagenet.
Why, that was he.
The self-same name, but one a better nature.
Where is he?
Here. What a wouldst thou spit at me?
Would it were more than poison for thy sake?
Oh, never came poison from so sweet a place.
Never hound poison on a fouler toad. Out of my sight, thou dost infect mine eyes.
Thine eyes, sweet lady, have infected mine.
Were there a basilisk to strike thee dead?
I would they were, that I might die at once. For now they kill me with a living death. Those eyes of thine from mine have drawn salt tears, shamed their aspect with store of childish drops. These eyes that never shed remorse or tear. No, when my father York and Edward wept, to hear the piteous moan that Rutland made when blackface Clifford shook his sword at him, nor when thy warlike father, like a child, told the sad story of my father's death, and 20 times made pause to sob and weep, that all the standers by did wet their cheeks like trees bedashed with rain. In that sad time, my manly eyes did scorn and humble tear, and what their sorrows could not thence exhale, my beauty hath, and made them blind with weeping. Oh. Teach not thy lips such scorn, for they were made for kissing, lady, not for such contempt. If thy revengeful heart cannot forgive, lo, here, I lend thee this sharp-pointed sword, which if thou please to hide in this true bosom, and let the soul forth that adoreth thee, I lay it naked to the deadly stroke, and humbly beg the death upon my knee. Nay, do not pause. For I did kill King Ray, but 'twas thy beauty that provoked me. Nay, now dispatch. 'Twas I that stabbed young Edward, but 'twas thy heavenly face that set me on. Take up the sword or take up me.
Arise, dissembler. Though I wish thy death, I might be thy executioner.
Bid me kill myself and I would do it.
I have already.
That was in thy rage. Say it again, and even with the word, this hand which for thy love did kill thy love, shall for thy love kill a far truer love. To both their deaths thou shalt be accessory.
I would I knew thy heart.
Tis wicked in my tongue.
I fear me both are false.
And never man was true.
Well, put up your sword.
Say then my peace is made.
Thou shalt thou know hereafter.
But shall I live in hope?
Well, all men, I hope, live so.
So, if thy poor devoted suppliant may but beg one favour, at thy gracious hand thou dost confirm his happiness forever.
What is it?
That it would please thee leave these sad designs to him that hath more cause to be a mourner, and presently repair to Crosby House, where, after I have solemnly interred at Chertsey Monastery this noble king, and wet his grave with my repentant tears, I will with all expedient duty see you, for diverse unknown reasons. I beseech you, grant me this boon.
With all my heart. And much it joys me too to see you are become so penitent.
Then bid me farewell.
'Tis more than you deserve. But since you teach me how to flatter you, imagine I've said farewell already.
Was ever woman in this humour wooed? Was ever woman in this humour won? Oh, I will have her, but I will not keep her long.
Madam. Have patience, madam. There's no doubt his majesty will soon recover his accustomed health. In that you brook it ill, it makes him worse. Therefore, for God's sake, entertain good comfort and cheer his grace with quick and merry words.
If he were dead, what would betide on me?
Well, the heavens have blessed you with a goodly son to be your comforter when he's gone.
Oh, he is young, and his minority is put onto the trust of Richard Gloucester, a man that loves not me, nor none of you.
Is it concluded he shall be
It
protector?
is determined if the king miscarry, and concluded, yes, so it must be.
Here comes the Lord of Buckingham. Your Grace.
Good time of day unto your royal grace.
So you the king today?
Did you confer with him?
Aye, madam, he desires to make atonement betwixt the Duke of Gloucester and your brother, and sent to warn them to his royal presence.
Would all were well.
Oh, yes.
But that will never be. I fear our happiness is at the highest.
They do me wrong, and I will not endure it. Who are they that complain unto the king that I, forsooth, am stern and love them not? Oh, by holy Paul, They do love his grace but lightly, that fill his ears with dissentious rumours.
To whom in all this presence speaks your grace?
To thee that has no honesty nor grace. When have I injured thee or done thee wrong? Or thee, or any of your faction?
Mother of Gloucester, you mistake the matter. The king of his own royal disposition, and not provoked by any suitor else, aiming belike at your interior hatred, which in your outward action shows itself against my kindred, brothers, and myself makes him descend, that thereby he may gather the ground of your ill will and so remove it.
I cannot tell. The world has grown so bad that wrens make prey where eagles dare not perch. Since every Jack became a gentleman, there's many a gentle person made a Jack.
Come, we know your meaning, Brother Gloucester. You envy my advancement and my friends. God grant we never may have need of you.
Meantime, God grants that we have need of you. Our brother is imprisoned by your means, by self-disgrace, the nobility held in contempt, whilst many fair promotions are daily given to ennoble those that scarce some 2 days since were worth a noble.
I never did incense his majesty against the Duke of Clarence, but have been an earnest advocate to plead for him. My lord, you do me shameful injury, falsely to draw me in these vile suspects.
You may deny that you are not the cause of my Lord Hastings' late imprisonment.
She may, my lord, for
She may,
is
Lord
not...
Rivers. Why? Who knows not so? She may do more, sir, than denying that. She may help you to many fair preferments, and deny her aiding hand therein, and lay those honours on your high desert. What? She may, eh? Marry may she.
What marry may she?
What? Marry may she? Marry with a king, a bachelor, and a handsome stripling
My
too.
lord of Gloucester, I have too long borne your blunt upbraidings and your bitter scoffs. By heaven, I will acquaint his majesty with those gross taunts I have often endured. Small joy have I in being England's queen.
What? Threat you me with telling of the king? Look, tell him and spare not. What I have said, I will avouch in the presence of the king. I dare adventure be sent to the tower. Ere you were queen, yea, and your husband king, I was a packhorse in his great affairs, a weeder out of his proud adversaries, a liberal rewarder of his friends. To royalize his blood, I spilt mine own. In all which time you and your husband Grey were factious for the house of Lancaster, and Rivers so were you. Let me put in your minds, if you forget, what you have been ere now and what you are, with all what I have been and what I am.
My lord of Gloucester, in those busy days which here you urge to prove us enemies, we followed then our lord, our lawful king. So should we you, if you should be our king.
Oh, if I should be, far be it from my heart. I'd rather be a peddler. The thought of it.
Madam, his majesty doth call for you.
Catesby we come. Lords, will you go with me?
I do the wrong and first begin to brawl. The secret mischiefs that I set abroach, I lay unto the grievous charge of others. Clarence, whom I indeed hath laid in darkness, I beweep to many a simple goal, namely to Hastings and to Buckingham, and say it is the Queen and her allies that stir the King against the Duke my brother. Now they believe it, and withal, wet me to be revenged on Rivers and the rest. Soft. Here come my executioners.
Oh, I have passed a miserable night, so full of ugly sights, of ghastly dreams. And was embarked to cross to Burgundy, and in my company my brother Gloucester, who from my cabin tempted me to walk upon the hat. Thence we looked toward England, and sighted up 1,000 fearful times during the wars of York and Lancaster that had befallen us. As we paced along upon the giddy footing of the hatches, methought that Richard stumbled, and in falling struck me, who thought to stay him overboard into the tumbling billows of the main. Oh, Lord, methought what pain it was to drown. What dreadful noise of waters in mine ears, what ugly sights of death within mine eyes. Methought I saw 1,000 fearful wrecks, 10,000 men that fishes gnawed upon, wedges of gold, great anchors, heaps of pearl, inestimable stones, unvalued jewels, all scattered in the bottom of the sea. Some lay in dead men's skulls, and in those holes where eyes did once inhabit, there were crept, as 'twere in scorn of eyes, reflecting gems, which wooed the slimy bottom of the deep, and mocked the dead bones that lay scattered by. Oh, then began the tempest to my soul. I passed, methought, the melancholy flood, and that grim ferryman which poets write of, unto the kingdom of perpetual night. The first that there did greet my stranger soul was my great father-in-law, renowned Warwick, who cried aloud, "What scourge for perjury can this dark monarchy afford false Clarence?" And so he vanished. Then came wandering by a shadow, like an angel with bright hair, dabbled with blood, and he shrieked out aloud, "Clarence is come! False, fleeting, perjured Clarence, who stabbed me in the field by Tewkesbury! Seize on him, furies! Take him to your torments!" With that, methought, ears such hideous cries that with the very noise I trembling waked, and for a season after I could not believe but that I was in hell. Such terrible impression made the dream.
What? Should we stab him as he sleeps?
No, then he will say 'twas done cowardly when he wakes.
When he wakes, oh, I'm foolish and I'm awake till the judgment day.
Why, then he will say we stabbed him sleeping.
Urging of that word judgment hath bred a kind of remorse in me.
What? Art thou afraid?
Not to kill him, having a warrant for it, but to be damned for killing him, for which no warrant can defend us.
I thought thou hadst been resolute.
So I am. To let him live.
Back to the Duke of Gloucester then. Tell him so.
I prithee stay a while. Faith, some certain dregs of conscience are yet within me.
Remember our reward when the deed is done.
Zoons, he dies. I forgot the reward.
Where is thy conscience now?
Oh, in the Duke of Gloucester's purse.
So when he opens his purse to give us our reward, thy conscience flies out?
Let it go.
What if it come to thee again?
I'll not meddle with it. 'Tis a dangerous thing. Makes one a coward. One cannot steal, but it accuseth. One cannot swear, but it checks. One cannot lie, but it detects. It fills one full of obstacles. It made me once restore a purse of gold that I found.
Zoons, it is even now at my elbow, persuading me not to kill the Duke.
Come, shall we to this gear?
Take him on the head with the hilt of thy sword, and then we'll throw him in the wine barrel in the next room.
Oh, excellent advice. Make a stop of him.
Softy wakes. Shall I strike?
No, we'll reason with him.
In God's name, what are you, and how came you hither?
I would speak with Clarence, and I came hither on my legs.
Yea, are you so brief?
Oh, sir, 'tis better to be brief than tedious.
Where art thou, keeper? Bring me a cup of wine.
You shall have wine enough, my lord. Anon.
Why so? Now have I done a good day's work. You peers, continue this united league, and more in peace my soul shall part to heaven, since I have made my friends at peace on earth. Rivers and Hastings, make you both your pledge. Dissemble not your hatreds. Swear your love.
By heaven, my heart is purged from grudging hate, and with my hand I seal my true heart's love.
So thrive I as I truly swear the like.
Madam, yourself is not exempt from this. You have been factious, both one against the other. Wife, love Lord Hastings, and what you do, do it unfeignedly.
There, Hastings. I will never more remember our former hatred, so thrive I and mine.
Now, princely Buckingham, seal thou this league with thy embracements to my wife's allies, and make me happy in your unity.
Whenever Buckingham doth turn her hate on you or yours, God punish me with hate in those where I expect most love, when I have most need to employ a friend, and most assured that they are a friend. Deep, hollow, treacherous, and full of guile be they unto me. This do I beg of God, when I am cold in love to you or yours.
There wanteth now our brother Richard here to make the perfect period of this peace.
And in good time here comes the Duke of Gloucester.
Good morrow to my sovereign king and queen, and princely peers, a happy time of day.
Happy indeed, as we have spent the day. Brother, We have done deeds of charity, made peace of enmity, fair love of hate, betwixt these swelling, wrong, incensored peers.
Amongst this princely heap, if any here, by false intelligence or wrong surmise, hold me a foe, if I unwittingly or in my rage have all committed that is hardly borne by any in this presence, I desire to reconcile me to their friendly peace. It is death to me to be at enmity. I hate it and desire all people's love.
Holy day! So this be kept hereafter. I would to God all strifes were well compounded. My sovereign liege, I do beseech your majesty to take our brother Clarence to your grace.
Why, madam, have I offered love for this? To be so flouted in his royal presence, who knows not that the gentle duke is dead? You do him injury to scorn his cause.
Well, who knows not he is dead? Who knows he is?
Seeing heaven, what a world is this?
Is Clarence dead? The order was reversed.
But he, poor soul, by your first order died, and that a winged Mercury did bear.
My brother killed no man. His fault was thought, and yet his punishment was bitter death. Who sued to me for him? Who, in my rage, kneeled at my feet and bid me be advised? Who spoke of brotherhood? Who spoke of love? Who told me in the field by Tewkesbury, when Oxford had me down, he rescued me and said, "Dear brother, live and be a king"? Who told me when we both lay in the field, frozen almost to death, how he did lap me, even in his own garments, and gave himself all thin and naked to the numb cold night? All this from my remembrance, brutish wrath, sinfully plucked, and not a one of you had so much grace as to put it in my mind. Nor I, ungracious, spake unto myself for him, poor soul. The proudest of you all have been beholden to him in his life, yet not one of you would once beg for his life. Oh God, I fear thy justice will take hold on me, and you, and mine, and yours for this. Oh, Clarence!
This is the fruit of rashness. Marked you not how the guilty kindred of the Queen looked pale when they did hear of Clarence's death? Oh, they did urge it still unto the king. God will revenge it. But come, will you go to comfort Edward with our company?
I wait upon your grace.
Madam. Madam. Your Majesty.
Edward! What stay had I but Edward? And he's gone.
Have comfort, Your Majesty.
Catesby, well met. Whither away so far?
I promise you, I scarcely know myself.
Hear the news about?
Hi, that the king is
dead.
unwell.
Bad news by a lady seldom comes the better. I fear shall prove a troublous world.
Neighbours, Godspeed.
Yes, give you good morrow.
Doth this news hold of good King Edward's death?
Indeed, it is too true, God help the while.
Then, neighbours, look to see a troublous world.
No, by God's good grace, his son shall reign.
Woe to the land that's governed by a child.
Come, we fear the worst. All shall be well.
When clouds are seen, wise men put on their cloaks. When great leaves fall, the winter is at hand. When the sun sets, who doth not look for night? Untimely storms make men expect a dearth.
All may be well, but if God sought it so, 'tis more than we deserve, or I expect.
No. Who shall hinder me to wail and weep? To chide my fortune and torment myself?
Madam.
I'll join with black despair against my soul and to myself become an enemy. Edward,
Madam.
my lord, our king is dead.
Madam, bethink you like
Why
a careful
grow the branches,
mother.
now the root is withered? Why wither not the leaves, the sap being gone? Oh, for my husband, for my dear Lord Edward.
Madam, methink you like a careful mother of the young prince, your son. Send straight for him, let him be crowned. In him your comfort lives. Drown desperate sorrow in dead Edward's grave and plant your joys in living Edward's throne.
Sister, have comfort. All of us have cause to wail the dimming of our shining star.
Now, cheer each other in each other's love. Though we have spent the harvest of this king, we are to reap the harvest of his son. Ah, the broken rancour of your high, swollen hates, but lately splintered, knit and joined together, must gently be preserved, cherished, and kept. Meseemeth good that, with some little train, forthwith from Ludlow the young prince be fetched, hither to London to be crowned our king.
Why with some little train, my lord of Buckingham?
Marry, my lord, lest by a multitude the new healed wound of malice should break out, which would be so much the more dangerous by how much the estate is green and yet ungoverned.
I hope the king made peace with all of us, and the compact is firm and true in me.
And so in me, and so I think in all. Yet since it is but green, it should be put to no apparent likelihood of breach, which haply by much company might be urged. Therefore I say with noble Buckingham, it is meet so few should fetch the prince.
And so say I.
Then be it so. And go we to determine who there shall be that straight shall post to Ludlow. Sister, and you, Lord Rivers, will you go to give your censures in this weighty business?
With all our hearts.
My lord, whoever journeys to the prince, for God's sake let not us two be behind. For by the way, I'll sort occasion as index to the story we late talked of, to part the queen's proud kindred from the prince.
My other self, my council's consistory, my oracle, my prophet, my dear cousin, I like a child will go by thy direction. Towards Ludlow then, for we'll not stay behind.
Madam!
What happened, my lord?
What ho!
Who knocks at the door?
What is it o'clock?
Upon the stroke of 6.
A messenger from the Lord Stanley.
Such news, my queen, as grieves me to impart.
How fares the prince?
Well, madam, and in health.
Well, what is thy news, then?
Lord Rivers and Lord Grey are sent to Pomfret, with them Sir Thomas Vaughan, prisoners.
Who hath committed them?
The mighty Dukes Richard and Buckingham.
For what offence?
The sum of all I can, I have disclosed. Why or for what these nobles were committed is all unknown to me, my gracious lady.
Ay me. I see the downfall of our house. The tiger now has seized the gentle hind. Insulting tyranny begins to jet against the innocent, and all is thrown. Welcome, destruction, death, and massacre. I see, as in a map, the end of all.
What ho, my lord? I come from Lord Stanley.
Cannot my Lord Stanley sleep these tedious nights?
So it should seem by that I have to say. First, she commends her to your noble lordship.
And then?
And then she sends you word. She dreamt tonight the boar had raised her helm. Besides, she says there are 2 councils held, and that may be determined at the one, which may make you and her to rue at the other. Therefore she sends to know your lordship's pleasure, if presently you will take horse with her, and with all speed post with her toward the north, to shun the danger that her soul divines.
Go, fellow. Go, return unto thy lord. Bid her not fear the separated councils. Her honour and myself are at the one, and at the other is my good friend Catesby, where nothing can proceed that toucheth us, whereof I shall not have intelligence. Go, bid thy mistress rise and come to me, and she shall see the boar will use us kindly.
I'll go, my lord. I'll tell her what you say. Many good morrows to my noble lord.
Tomorrow, Catesby, you're early stirring. What news? What news in this our tottering state?
'Tis a reeling world indeed, my lord, and I believe 'twill never stand upright till Richard wear the garland of the realm.
How wear the garland? Dost thou mean the crown?
Aye, my good lord.
I'll have this crown of mine cut from my shoulders, ere I will see the crown so foul misplaced. But canst thou guess that he doth aim at it?
Aye, on my life, and hopes to find forward upon his party for the gain thereof, and thereupon sends you this good news, that this same day your enemies, the kindred of the Queen, must die at Pomfret.
Indeed, I am no mourner for that news, because they have been still mine enemies. But that I'll give my voice on Richard's side to bar my master's heirs in true descent. God knows I will not do it to the death.
God keep your lordship in that gracious mind.
But I shall laugh at this a 12-month hence, that they who brought me in my master's hate, I live to look upon their tragedy.
'Tis a vile thing to die, my good lord, when we are unprepared and look not for it.
Oh, monstrous, monstrous, and so falls it out with Rivers, Vaughan, Grey, and so 'twill do with some men else who think themselves as safe as thou and I, who, as thou knowest, are dear to princely Richard and to Buckingham.
The princes both make high account of you, for they account her head upon the bridge.
I know they do, and I've well deserved it.
My lord.
Come on!
My
Where's your
lord.
boar spear now? Fear you the boar and go so unprovided?
Good morrow. Good morrow, Catesby. You may jest on, but by the holy rood, I do not like these several councils I
hold my life as dear as you do yours. Think you but that I know our state secure I would be so triumphant as I am?
The lords at Pomfret, when they rode from London, were jocund and supposed their state was sure, and they indeed had no cause to mistrust, but yet you see how soon the day overcast. The sudden stab of rancour I misdoubt. Pray God, I say, I prove a needless coward. What? Shall we tour the tower? Day is spent.
Come, have with you what you want, my lord. Today, the lords you talk of are beheaded!
But come, my lords, let us away.
They, for their truth, might better wear their heads than some that do accuse them wear their hats.
Now, noble peers, the cause why we are met is to determine of the coronation. In God's name, speak, when is the royal day?
Are all things fitting for that royal time?
It is, and once but nomination.
Tomorrow, then, I judge a happy day.
Who knows the Lord Protector's mind herein? Who is most inward with the royal duke?
Your grace, we think, should soon as know his mind.
Who, I? My lord, we know each other's faces, but for our hearts, he knows no more of mine than I of yours, nor I no more of his than you of mine. Lord Hastings, you and he are near in love.
I thank her grace, I know he loves me well, but for his purpose in the coronation I have not sounded him, nor he delivered his gracious pleasure any way therein. But you, my noble lords, may name the time, and in the Duke's behalf I'll give my voice, which I presume he'll take in gentle part.
Now in good time, here comes the Duke himself.
My noble lords and cousins all, good morrow. I have been long a sleeper, but I hope my absence doth neglect no great designs which by my presence might have been concluded.
Had you not come upon your cue, my lord? The good Lord Hastings had pronounced your part?
Now hang on.
No, I mean your voice for crowning of the king, sorry.
That my Lord Hastings, no one might be bolder. Her lordship knows me well and loves me well.
I thank your grace.
My Lord Stanley.
My lord.
When I was last in Holborn, I saw good strawberries in your garden there. I do beseech you send for some of them.
Marry and will, my lord, with all my heart.
Cousin of Buckingham, a word with you. Catesby had sounded Hastings in our business and finds the testy chamberlain so hot as she will lose her head ere give consent.
Withdraw you hence, my lord, I'll follow you.
We have not yet set down this day of triumph. Tomorrow, in mine opinion, is too sudden.
Where is my Lord Protector? I've sent for these strawberries.
His grace looks cheerfully and smooth today. There's some conceit or other likes him well when he doth bid good morrow with such a spirit.
What of his heart perceive you in his face by any likelihood he showed today?
Marry, that with no one here he is offended, for were he had shown it in his looks.
I pray God he be not, I say.
Oh! Oh!
My lord!
Oh!
My lord!
Oh, have mercy!
Help!
Oh!
Help!
Oh! 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 I pray you tell me what they deserve that do conspire my death with devilish plots of damned witchcraft, and that have prevailed upon my body with their hellish charms. Oh!
The tender love I bear your grace, my lord, makes me most forward in this noble presence to doom the offenders whatsoever they be. I say, my lord, they have deserved death.
Oh, then be your eyes the witness of their evil. See how I am bewitched. Behold, mine arm is withered up like a blasted sapling. And this is Edward's wife, that monstrous witch that by her witchcraft thus have marked me.
If they have done this thing, my grace...
If thou protector of this damned strumpet talks thou to me of ifs, thou art a traitor. Off with her head now. By St. Paul I swear I will not dine until I see the same. The rest that love me, come and follow me.
Whoa! woe for England. Not a whit for me, for I, too fond, might have prevented this. Stanley did dream, the boar did raise her helm, but I disdained it and did scorn to fly. 3 times today my footcloth horse did stumble, and startled when he looked upon the tower, as loath to bear me to the slaughterhouse.
Dispatch, my lord. The Duke would be at dinner. Make a short shrift. He longs to see your head.
Oh, bloody Richard! Miserable England! Come, lead me to the block, bear him my head. They smile at me that shortly shall be dead.
Calm, Jocelyn. Cast thou quake and change thy colour, murder thy breath in the middle of the word, and begin again and stop again, as if thou art distraught and mad with terror.
That I can counterfeit, the deep tragedian. Speak, and look back, and pry on every side, tremble and start at wagging of a straw, intending deep suspicion. Ghastly looks are at my service, like enforced smiles, and both are ready in their offices at any time to grace my stratagem.
Who is the head of that ignoble traitor?
But what is Catesby here?
The dangerous and unsuspected Hastings.
She is, and see, she brings the mare along. Oh, so dear, I loved her, but now I must weep. I took her for the plainest, harmless creature that breathed upon the earth and Christian.
Well, she was the covert's sheltered traitor that ever lived. Would you imagine, or almost believe, were it not by great preservation we live to tell it you, that subtle traitor this day had plotted at the council house to murder me and my good lord of Gloucester.
What? Did you so?
God.
What? Think you we are Turks or infidels, or what that we would against the form of law proceed thus rashly? But that the urgency of the state of our time forced us to this execution.
Now, fair befall you, she deserved her death. And you, my good lords, both have well proceeded to warn false traitors from the like attempt.
Because, my lord, we would have had you heard the traitor speak and timorously confess the manner and the purpose of her treason, so that you might well signify the same unto the citizens who haply may misconstrue us in her and wail her death.
But good my lord, your grace's word shall serve as well as I have seen and heard her speak. And doubt ye not, right noble princes both, but I'll acquaint our duteous citizens with all your just proceedings in this case.
And to that end, we wished your lordship here to avoid the carping censures of the world.
But since you come too late of our intents, yet witness what you hear we did intend. And so, my good Lord Mayor, we bid farewell.
Mercy, mercy, mercy. Go after Cousin Buckingham. What? The mayor towards Guildhall hies him in on post. There, at your misadvantage of the time, infer the bastardy of Edward's children. Moreover, urge his hateful lust and bestial appetite in change of lust that stressed to his servants, daughters, wives, even where his lustful eye or savage heart without control listed to make his prey. Nay, for a need. Thus far come near my person. Tell them, when that my mother went with child of that unsatiate Edward, noble York, my princely father, then had wars in France, and by just computation of the time, found that the issue was not his begot.
Oh, that's good. Touch this sparingly, as to afar off.
Of course, you know, my lord, my mother lives.
Fear not, my lord, I'll play the orator, as if the golden fee for which I plead were for myself. And so, my lord, adieu.
Now will I in to draw the brats of Clarence out of sight, and to give notice that no manner of person at any time have recourse unto the princes.
The indictment of the good Lord Hastings, which in a set hand fairly is engrossed, that it may this day be read o'er in Paul's. Mark how well the sequel hangs together. 11 hours was spent to write it over. For yesternight by Catesby was it brought out. The precedent was full as long a-doing. And yet, within these 5 hours, lived Lord Hastings untainted, unexamined, free, at liberty. Here's a good world the while. Why, who so gross that seeth not this palpable device? Why, who so blind but says she sees it not? Bad is the world, and all will come to naught when such bad dealings must be seen in thought.
Now, my lord, what say the citizens?
Now, by the holy mother of our lord, the citizens are mum, and speak not a word.
Touched you the bastardy of Edward's children?
I did, with his contract with Lady Lucy and his contract by deputy in France, the insatiate greediness of his desires and his enforcement of the city wives, his tyranny for trifles, his own bastardy as being God, your father then in France, his resemblance being not like the Duke. With all, I did infer your lineaments, being the right idea of your father, both in your form and nobleness of mind, laid open all your victories in Scotland, your discipline in war, wisdom in peace, your bounty, virtue, fair humility, indeed left nothing fitting for the purpose, untouched or slightly handled in discourse. And when mine oratory grew to an end, I bid them that did love their country's good, cry, God save Richard, England's royal king!
And did they so?
No.
Huh?
So God help me, they spake not a word, but like dumb statues or breathing stones stared each on other and looked deadly pale, which when I saw, I reprehended them and asked the mayor what meant this wilful silence. His answer was, the people are not used to being spoke to, but by the recorder.
What tongueless blocks were they? Would they not speak?
No, by my troth, my lord.
Will not the mayor then and his brethren come?
The mayor is here at hand. Get intense of fear. Be not you spoke with, but by mighty suit. And look you, get a Bible in your hand, and stand betwixt two churchmen, good my lord, for on that ground I'll build a holy descant. Be not easily won to our request. Still play the maid's part, answer nay, and take it. Go, up to let's, Lord Reynolds. Welcome, my lord. I dance attendance here. I think the Duke will not be spoke withal.
What?
Now, Catesby, what says your lord to my request?
He doth entreat your grace, my noble lord, that she visits tomorrow or next day. He is within, with two right reverend fathers, divinely bent in meditation, and no worldly suit would he be moved to draw him from his holy exercise.
Return, good Catesby, to thy lord again. Tell him myself, the mayor, and citizens, in deep designs and matters of great moment, are come to have some conference with his grace.
I'll tell him what you say, my lord.
My lord, this prince is not an Edward. He's not lulling on a lewd love bed, but on his knees at meditation, not dallying with a brace of courtesans, but meditating with two deep divines, not sleeping to engross his idle body, but praying to enrich his wakeful soul. Happy were England, would this gracious prince take on himself the sovereignty thereof. But sure, I fear we shall never win him to it.
Marry, God forbid, his grace should say us nay.
I fear he will.
Oh.
Here Catesby comes. Now, Catesby, what says your lord?
My lord, he wonders to what end you have assembled such troops of citizens to speak with him. His grace not being warned thereof before, my lord, he fears you mean no good to him.
Sorry I am, my noble cousin should suspect me, that I mean no good to him.
By heaven, we come in perfect love to him, and so, once more, return and tell his grace. See where he stands between two clergymen.
And see, a Bible in his hand, true ornaments to know a holy man. Gracious Plantagenets, most famous prince, lend favourable ears to our request, and pardon us the interruption of thy devotion and right Christian zeal.
My lord, there needs no such apology. I'd rather do beseech you pardon me, who, earnest in the service of my God, neglect the visitation of my friends. But, leaving this, What is your grace's pleasure?
Even that I hope, which pleaseth God above, and all good men of this ungoverned isle.
I do suspect I have done some offence that seems disgracious in the city's eyes.
You have, my lord. Would it might please your grace at our entreaties to amend that fault?
Else wherefore breathe I in a Christian land?
Then know it is your fault that you resign the supreme seat, the throne majestical, to the corruption of a blemished stock.
Yes.
This noble isle doth want her proper limbs, which to recure we heartily solicit your gracious self to take on you the charge and kingly government of this your land.
Yes.
Not as protector,
No.
steward,
No.
substitute,
Bleh.
a lowly factor for another's gain, but as successively from blood to blood, your right of birth.
Yes.
Your empery, your own!
I know not whether to depart in silence or bitterly speak in your reproof. Your love deserves my thanks, but my desert unmeritable shuns your high request.
Refuse not, mighty lord, this proffered love.
Please, good my lord, your citizens entreat you.
Oh, make them joyful, grant their lawful suit.
Alas, why would you heap these cares on me? I am unfit for state and majesty. I do beseech you, take it not amiss. I cannot, nor I will not yield to you.
Your brother's son shall never reign our king, but we shall plant some other in the throne, to the disgrace and downfall of your house. And in this resolution here, we leave you. Come, citizens, soon I'll entreat no more.
Do not swear, my lord of Buckingham.
Call them again, my lord, and accept this suit.
Too good, my lord, lest all the land should rue it.
Call them again.
Citizens!
I am not made of stone, cousin Buckingham, and you, sage grave ones, since you will buckle fortune on my back, whether I will or no. I must have patience to endure the load. For God he knows, and you may partly see how far I am from the desire thereof.
God bless your grace, we see it and will say it.
In saying so, you shall but say the truth.
Then I salute you with this kingly title. Long live Richard, England's royal king.
Amen.
Tomorrow will't please you to be crowned.
Even as you please, since you'll have it so.
What a fantastic first half of theatre on this Saturday night. Wherever you are, I hope you are enjoying it. Our live studio audience, are you enjoying the show so far? That's a yes right there. I'm not sure if you can hear at home the rain that is beating down on the studio right now. This live studio audience have really braved the elements right now to come out and watch this show. So huge thanks to everyone involved. Tonight's show is, of course, brought to you by the Where You Are Festival. If you do want to catch up on all the fantastic work they are doing in supporting acts all across the ACT, head to risecanberra.com for more details. Right, I did promise you at the interval I was going to have a chat with three prominent figures from tonight's show, and I did not lie. I'm now joined in the lounge by Fiona Victoria Hopkins, our costume designer, Jay Cameron, music composer, and, well, the king himself, Mr. Christopher Stollery. Guys, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thank you.
So we all have different backgrounds here that have come together to make this happen this evening. How does it feel now seeing it up there live on stage?
It feels phenomenal. It just feels phenomenal. You know, the fact that you can just bring something under any conditions and tell a story and share it with people. Yeah, feels great.
And Jay, hearing the wonderful musical score that you've produced, what's that like to sort of see it in action, having spent months however long of it being in your head to now see it in action?
It's a wonderful feeling. I'm pretty lucky in that I played most of the instruments in the score myself, so I was able to hear the score take shape in my ears, not just in my head. But to see it on the stage with the costumes, with the movement of the actors and everything, and seeing how well it works for this production is really thrilling.
And Christopher, you've had, is it some 3 weeks, 4 weeks to prepare for this? How does it feel to get back on stage with a live studio audience and hundreds of people watching along at home?
Well, it's sort of special given that theatres have been, shut down across the land, and this is a rare little treat to be able to get up and perform live. It's great.
Absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure having the three of you here. Chris, I will focus on you a little bit more over the next couple of minutes because I do believe you have a meeting to attend, shall I say?
Coronation.
You got something on this evening.
Harry and Megan are going to be there.
So I won't keep you for too long, but there are a few things I want to learn about the Mr. Christopher Stollery. First of all, how did you first get involved with Shakespeare?
It all came back to something about a pen. I met this wonderful woman who had this very cool pen, and I was at a lunch in London, and I went, I have to have one of those pens. And so the woman in question was Lexi, and I think we bonded on some other things to do with theatre and language and other stuff like that. But Lexi's producing skills came to the fore. Getting this pen was not an easy thing, a replica of it for me. And then whatever that conversation, apart from the pen, provoked, some years later, Lexi remembered me and approached me to direct the 12th night that was on here beginning of 2019. And then we've done several other things since then, and this is the latest incarnation.
Fantastic. So you do have that directing as well as acting pedigree. What's more satisfying for you? Is it sort of as a director seeing this whole production come together, or as an actor fulfilling a role?
Well, the great thing as a director is that you don't have to put on someone else's clothes. That's usually. But I make an exception whenever Fiona is the designer. It's a pleasure to put these costumes on. Look, they're both different puzzles, and I've also done a lot of work in film and TV and directed for film and TV. They're all different puzzles. I think as a director, using a different bit of the brain. For me, it's the much more raw instinct getting up on stage in front of people. It's a whole different thing that I miss a lot when over the last few months. So this is a real treat.
Absolutely. And in terms of Shakespearean plays, I think if I were to say you are an experienced or veteran Shakespearean actor, that would be a drastic understatement. You've had some, I think, more than 20 Shakespearean productions. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. Probably more. There was 20 with Bell Shakespeare Company, and we visited Canberra many, many times over those years. So Canberra does feel like a bit of a second home. And thank you, Canberra, for your incredible appreciation of those years of coming to down here with the productions. But there were some outside of that as well. I've done a few productions of Richard III. Again, with Bell Company. John Bell was Richard in both of them, although they were quite different productions. And yeah, Shakespeare was not something I pursued from a young age. But once I started doing it, it was wonderful to come to understand from the inside the reasons why this writing is so revered. I think for a lot of people, it's destroyed at school by having to read it out loud. I don't know, but once you're inside it, you see why they're done over and over again, because in every age we're able to come back to this canon and hold that up to the specific light of that zeitgeist, and some new thing seems to be refracted through it. And that really doesn't happen with a lot of other playwrights. They're limited to a certain theme or genre, but he was a great observer of human nature, and I think that's what shines through, is his incredible observational skills, compassion, and perceptivity about human nature.
It is truly remarkable how timeless the works of Shakespeare are, and indeed the characters of Shakespeare. So we're talking more than 20 productions you've been involved with. Is there a particular character that resonates the most with you?
You mean for me, or with the time, or with...
For you as someone who you have played, or even someone you haven't played, but you're just like, cool, I wouldn't mind that role?
oh, look, there's that line in Withnail and I, getting too old to play the Dane. I don't think I've played the Dane, and I don't think it is the pick of the roles. I think Richard is actually a great, fun role. It's dark, it's funny, it's dirty. But yeah, I think has come a time when you're too old to play Dickie Three Eyes. So I'll pass it on to Dean, who's doing a great job.
And we've just got a couple more questions before we lose you. So you are credited as being part of that scene that really made Shakespeare accessible to the Australian public. Can you tell me a bit about that journey with the public and Shakespeare that you've seen throughout your career?
Yes, it was I joined the company in 1992, so that's a long time ago. And in those days, we were still battling the overwhelming sense that, from some people, that Shakespeare was all about the costumes, particularly red velvet and ermine, and that it all had to be done with British accents, and that was true Shakespeare acting. And so I think we softened up the public to modern dress and reinterpretations and an authentic Australian voice for these plays. Not only is that appropriate, I think it's vital to actually, as I said, hold the mirror up to nature. There's no point refracting it through 1940s England. I don't think that's where the truth of the pieces lie. It's about finding the immediacy of that. So I think we did soften the Australian public up to that. And now there's so much postmodernist deconstruction that I sort of think we're going too far. Let's just go back to the play. What is the play trying to do? Instead of overlaying concepts on top of it, I think the plays live and breathe. Not so much the plays. I don't think he was the greatest playwright, but I think as a writer of scenes and of characters, he's unsurpassed. And we should go to try and look for what Shakespeare is trying to say.
Absolutely, and then you add a bit of rock and roll into it, and bam, you've got yourself a show on a Saturday night.
That's it. However you want to dress it up, it's fine. Dress it up, and this is stunning. The sights and sounds here, even though I'm standing on stage and being dazzled by the music and the refracted light off Victoria's costumes. I think it's this is absolutely it. Yeah,
it's fantastic. And very shortly, we are going to get to the costume design and the composition. But before we do lose you, Christopher, I do just want to ask you. So, again, I speak about your experience. You've toured stages throughout Europe, Australia. You've performed on stage with the likes of John Cleese, who I'm a massive fan of, like Kate Blanchett, Tim Minchin. I can carry on. When all is said and done, for you as an actor, and as an actor who's been limited as to what he can do since COVID began, what does the stage mean to you?
Well, I think it's the primal thing. I mean, it's the root of all performance. Without that sense of being in a room with someone, whether it's performing music or performing singing, I think that's the primary driver of all appreciation of performance art. It's great to be able to share it with modern technology and to be able to get past the limitations of this pandemic by using that technology. But I think being live is something that we'll never lose. And I'm glad we're finding ways around it during the pandemic like this. But I think it is the primary thing, and I think we should always look to get back to being in a room together. I think that is really where we find each other and find art in performance.
Well said. Christopher Sollery, thank you so much for popping into the lounge and having a chat with us, and we can't wait to see you in the second half.
I better go and see what Megan and Harry are doing. And, see you at the coronation. Right.
Christopher Sollery right there. Right, now let's get to costumes and music. I'll start with Mr. Jay Cameron, who is this production's composer. Now, straight off the bat, how did you get involved with this, and what was the brief? Did someone just come up to you and say, hey, I've got an idea. I'm talking rock and roll and Shakespeare, and what was your reaction to that?
That was pretty much what it was. I got invited to a dinner party by a friend, and she had warned me before I arrived that there was going to be a rather prominent member of the theatre in Canberra there, which was Lexi Seculus. So I geared myself up to make a good impression, got all my Stephen Sondheim notes ready, impressed her enough to get some engagement. And after that dinner, she told me about this idea that she had, and she literally just said that, Richard III as a rock concert, which obviously piqued my interest as a musician and a composer. So to pitch myself as the potential writer of the music, I sent her some recordings of me playing guitar very loudly as a fresh-faced 18-year-old, and that seemed to get me the gig.
Did the job right there. We have to hear some of these recordings, so we'd love to hear it.
No, they're terrible.
And Fiona, costume designer extraordinaire. So when you made contact with Shakespeare & Co. about producing the outfits for a Shakespearean piece, how did you end up with this kind of rock and roll vibe? What was that reaction like?
I think a very good friend once said to me that I have a very abstract mind. So I think it's just something that's ingrained in some of us. You know, we just have this wide berth of imagination. So I think the platform of Shakespeare, because as Chris says, it's so interpretive, it's everyman, you know, there's so many layers and textures to it that, you know, when you're given a genre, I think whatever it is, actually, particularly for Shakespeare, it can just shift and move and groove to its own beat. So to actually explore the world of Shakespeare through rock, which is obviously something that I'm very passionate about, was just a simple, it was cohesive, you know, cohesive costume-wise, creativity-wise, and, you know, easy conversations to have with people that you've worked before. Obviously, this business is a lot like that, so it's lovely to come back and, you know, you get this certain terminology and vocabulary with the people you work with. So, absolute pleasure to put some hard medals on some costumes in these hard times, you know, pretty much.
I love that. So, talking about your process, how do you begin with this? Is everything on stage, is it sort of purely made by yourself, or do you head out to Topshop and, you know, can we pick up something like this in the high street, or how did you make the designs for this?
I think it's always, when you say Topshop to me, I'm like, is Topshop here? No, it's UK. It's a UK thing. Yeah.
I forget where I am sometimes.
That's a rock concert
me
in
and
itself.
Jay understand, yeah.
It's, you know, it once again is something that I think you just, you know, you have discussions with the design, with the director in relation to the design. You meet the actors. I think once again it's that complete fusion of character. You know, that's one of the biggest elements that really, for myself as being an actor as well, I love that coherency when I'm giving like almost like birth to a design. Like it is, you know, I consistently think about what I do every second. You know, I'm driving the car, or I'm watching the actors on stage rehearsing, or I'm watching some, just anything, because it's so fluid like that. You listen to amazing music that it's this consistent movement that, you know, you then put pen to paper, and I'm old school, and I do my sketch pad, and I look at references. But I think it is, for myself personally, it's very much born out of just what can I create? Where can I allow my imagination and my mind to go when I hear this beautiful, rich, textured language, you know? What is it that this person is going through, you know? How would they armor themselves up in what they wear, you know? And the platform of Shakespeare, once again, is just such a beautiful platform that you're able to express this through word and through the stage, and obviously now through the lens. So this platform, once again, gives an extra vibrancy to the work that we do, you know? And this, you know, so what Chris was talking about, the sense of, you know, what does the stage mean? It's this immediacy that you get. And there's an extra immediacy now that we are live theatre, live film. You know, there's something quite pure about that I think the arts is the only genre that sort of carries that, you know.
Absolutely, well said, Fee. Impassioned is always a joy to hear. You are traditionally as well, you are trained as an actor as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
Have you ever considered, when you're doing a costume, maybe just making it a little bit too big or a little bit too small, but just so happens to fit you perfectly?
Oh, there's always something in the back of my mind like that. But you know what? It's the I don't know what it is. It's just something with that relationship that you have. You know, it's very personal, the costumes that you make. I look at every piece of detail on this work that I've created, and I see history with it. And the way that I do design, I'm a very savvy op shop buyer. So it's that fusing together and repurposing what I do, and being an actor at heart as well. Like, I've had some fantastic mentors along the way. Rob Clare from Central School of Speech and Drama, Lisa Pescia from when I was training in LA. So it all filters in to the work you do. So yeah, there's history. Like Lexi's dress in particular, it's almost like this birth of woman, like this Venus, coming with the pearls, and, the hard edge of Richard is just really lovely, like the wearable of the art in the costume.
Absolutely. No, it's always a pleasure hearing someone speak so passionately about what they do. Jay, so when you were composing this piece, what were your biggest influences going into it?
Probably the biggest influence was just the brief that was given to me. Lexi had a very clear kind of image what she was going for. So really the first step was just improvising with the guitar and trying to find the sound of that world, just kind of fumbling around in the dark looking for it. So a lot of the score was birthed out of improvisation. Once I kind of had that sound of battle and anger that we were looking for, I then had a musical palette that I could draw from to then create the rest of the score. So that even when there's moments of calm in this score, it's still drawing on the musical palette from the war sequences. So there's always this idea that we can, at any moment, shift into chaos.
I absolutely love the sound as well, and that chaos. Hence the name Rockspear perfectly matches it. Now, something I do like to ask composers whenever I get the chance, did you manage to sneak in any obscure sounds that were made in a very bizarre process in this production or in any other production that you've done?
I suppose I did adopt a few interesting recording techniques. I recorded the entire score of this in a spare bedroom in my house. So I kind of had to think how I could create really expansive sounds in that smaller space. And one way I did that was with the voices in the score. There's a lot of voices that I recorded, my own voice layered a lot, and then the voice of one of the cast members here, Lainey. And when we were recording, I would sing into my piano, into my grand piano with the sustain pedal on. And what that does is it allows all the strings in the piano to resonate freely, and the soundboard of the piano resonates as well. So you get this kind of very kind of ugly dissonance in there. It's pretty quiet, and so it's just kind of lurking underneath the music. So it's not always audible in the score, but I hope when it is audible, again, it's just giving that sense of foreboding that carries all the way through the show.
Absolutely. How cool is that insight? Thank you so much. Now, Fee, before we do head back to the stage, I do want to ask you one more quick question. Obviously, our mayor this evening has got a fantastic get-up, and it does include, was that a Julia Roberts t-shirt I saw?
Yes.
Looked like Steven Tyler.
It was a Julia Roberts. Yes, very much so. It's that bling. I think the mayor has that sass about him. So it's just that, once again, it's that fusion of the actor with the costume. So it just breathes its own life. I said yesterday that there's this subconscious sort of deliverance that the actor just emanates out of them, and that just comes through me into my work, manifests, and you get, obviously it's a very contemporary piece, so there's that fusion between, the Elizabethan and the contemporary. So yeah, the mayor has the bling, and Duncan Driver carries it so beautifully well with the ka-ka, so you can't help but infuse that into the costume.
How much do I have to pay you to dress me up after this? I reckon I'd look fab in half of that gear.
I think you would look absolutely sensational.
Oh, stop it, you flirt. Fiona, Jay, we absolutely love your work. If we want to follow any upcoming projects and what else you got going on, how can we do so?
Yeah, most definitely. You can contact me through my website, which is victoriahopkins.com. So in relation to my acting as well. So yeah, victoriahopkins.com is where you can find me.
Yeah, you can see my existing portfolio and future projects at jaycameronmusic.com, jaycameronmusic.com.
Guys, thank you so much, and congratulations on a fantastic contribution to this show.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so much.
There you go, victoriahopkins.com. That's going to be getting a message a little later on So, very shortly, we will be heading back to the stage for the second half of Roxpear, Richard III. A wonderful night at the theatre. But before we do get there, a quick message from one of our partners.
Roxpear, Richard III is presented thanks to the Where You Are Festival, but also thank you to Ramada Canberra. They have been supporting Shakespeare by the Lakes for 3 years now, and we couldn't do this production without them. The Diplomat Hotel in Griffith and the Encore Apartments in Belconnen have a promo code TAKE20, which you can enter if you're booking any accommodation or any food and beverage, and it will take $20 off. That's the Diplomat Hotel in Canberra and the Encore Apartments in Belconnen.
Stand all apart. Cousin Buckingham.
My gracious sovereign.
Thus high by thy advice, and thy assistance is King Richard seated. But shall we wear these honours for a day, or shall they last and we rejoice in them?
Still live they, and forever may they last.
Ah, Buckingham. Now do I play the touch to try thou be current gold indeed. Young Edward lives, think now what I would say.
Say on, my loving lord.
Why, Buckingham, I say, I would be king.
Why, so you are, my thrice renowned liege.
Am I king? 'Tis so, but Edward lives.
True, noble prince.
Oh, bitter consequence that Edward still should live. True, noble prince. Cousin, thou wast not want to be so dull. I wish the bastard's dead, and I would have it suddenly performed. What sayest thou? Speak suddenly, be brief.
Your grace may do your pleasure.
Tut, tut, thou art all ice, thy kindness freezeth. Say, have I thy consent that they shall die?
Give me some breath, some little pause, my lord, before I positively speak in this. I will resolve your grace immediately.
King is angry. See, he bites the lip. Go, you, out. Go.
I will converse with iron-witted fools and irrespective girls. None are for me that look into me with considerate eyes. I, reaching Buckingham, grow circumspect. Catesby!
My lord.
Knowest thou not any whom corrupting gold would tempt into a close exploit of death?
My lord, I know a discontented gentleman whose humble means match not his haughty mind. Gold were as good as 20 orators and will no doubt tempt him to anything.
What is his name?
His name, my lord, is Tyrrell.
I partly know the name. Go, call him hither. The deep revolving, witty Buckingham no more shall be the neighbour to my counsels. Hath she so long held out with me untied? And stops she now for breath? Well, be it so. How now, Lord Stanley, what's news?
No, my loving lord, the Marquis Dorset, as I hear, is fled to Richmond in the parts where he abides.
Come hither, Catesby. Rumoured abroad that Anne, my wife, is sick and like to die. I will take order for her keeping close. Look how she dreams. I say again, give out that Anne, my wife, is sick and like to die. About it! For it stands me much upon to stop all hopes whose growth may damage me. I must be married to my brother's daughter, or else my kingdom stands on brittle glass. Murder her brothers and marry her, uncertain way of gain. But I am in, so far in blood that sin will pluck on sin. Tear-falling pity dwells not in this eye. Is thy name Tyrrell?
James Tyrrell, and your most obedient subject.
Art thou indeed?
Prove me, gracious sovereign.
Darest thou resolve to kill a friend of mine?
Aye, my lord, I had rather kill 2 enemies.
Why, there thou hast it, 2 deep enemies, foes to my rest and my sweet sleep's disturbers are they, that I would have thee deal upon. Tyrrell, I mean the bastards in the tower.
Let me have open means to come to them, and I'll rid you of the fear of them.
Ah, thou singst sweet music. Thank you, gentle Tyrrell. There is no more but so. Say it is done, and I will love thee and prefer thee too.
'Tis done, my gracious lord.
My lord!
Yeah.
I have considered in my mind the late demand that you did sound me in.
Well, let that pass. Dorset is fled to Richmond.
I hear that news, my lord. My lord. I claim your gift, my due by promise for which your honour and your faith is pawned, the earldom of Hereford, and the movables, the which you promised that I should possess. What says your highness to my just demand?
As I remember, when Henry VI prophesied that Richmond would be a king, when Richmond was a little peevish boy, a king, perhaps.
My lord.
How chance the prophet could not at that time have told me, I being by, that I should kill him?
My lord. Your promise for the earldom.
Aye. What's o'clock?
I am thus bold to put your grace in mind of what you promised me.
Well, but what's o'clock?
Upon the stroke of 10.
Then let us strike.
Why let it strike?
Because that, like a jack, thou keeps the stroke by begging in my meditation. I am not in the giving vein today.
Why then resolve me whether you will
Thou
or not.
troublest me! I am not in the vein!
Is it even so? Rewards he my true service with such deep contempt? Made I him king for this? Oh, let me think on Hastings and be gone to Brecknock while my fearful head is on.
The sons of Edward sleep in Abraham's bosom, and Anne, my wife, hath bid the world good night. Now, for I know the Breton Richmond aims at young Elizabeth, my brother's daughter, and with that not looks proudly over the crown. To her I go, a jolly, thriving wooer.
My lord!
Good news or bad that thou comest in so bluntly?
Bad news, my lord. Ely has fled to Richmond, and Buckingham, backed with a hardy Welshman, is in the field, and still her power increaseth.
Ely with Richmond troubles me more near than Buckingham and her rash-levied army. Go, muster men, my counsel is my shield. We must be brief when traitors brave the field.
Yes.
Ah! Look who interrupts my expedition.
Hides thou that forehead with a golden crown where should be branded, if the right were right, the slaughter of the prince that owned that crown and the dire death of my 2 sons and brothers. Tell me, thou villain slave, where are my children? Where is kind Hastings, Rivers, Vaughan, Grey?
Either be patient and entreat me fair, or stay, madam! I must speak a word with you.
I have no more sons of the royal blood for thee to murder. For my daughters, Richard, they shall be praying nuns, not weeping queens, and therefore level not to hit their lives.
You have a daughter called Elizabeth.
And must she die for this? Let her live, and I'll corrupt her manners, stain her beauty, slander myself as false to Edward's bed.
Wrong not her birth, she is of royal blood.
To save her life, I'll say she is not so.
Her life is only safest in her birth.
And only in that safety died her brothers.
All unavoided is the doom of destiny.
True. When avoided, grace makes destiny. My babes were destined for a fairer death if grace had blessed thee with a fairer life.
You speak as if that I'd slain my cousins.
Cousins indeed. And by their uncle cousined, of comfort, kingdom, kindred, freedom, life.
Madam.
Whose hand soever lanced their tender hearts, thy head all indirectly gave direction.
Madam, so thrive I in my enterprise and dangerous success of bloody wars as I intend more good to you and yours than ever you or yours are by me wronged.
What good is covered in the face of heaven to be discovered that could do me good?
The advancement of your children, gentle lady.
Be brief, lest the process of thy kindness last longer telling than thy kindness date.
Then know that from my soul I love thy daughter and do intend to make a queen of England.
So then who does thou mean shall be her king?
E'en he that makes a queen, who should be else?
What, thou?
E'en so, how think you of it, madam?
How canst thou woo her?
That I would learn of you as one that are best acquainted with her humour.
And wilt thou learn of me?
Madam, with all my heart.
Send to her by the man that slew her brothers, a pair of bleeding hearts, and thereon engraved Edward and York. Then haply she will weep. Therefore present to her as sometime Margaret did to thy father steeped in Rutland's blood a handkerchief, which say to her did drain the purple sap from a sweet brother's body, and bid her dry her weeping eyes therewith. If this inducement force her not to love, send her a story of thy noble acts. Tell her thou madest away her uncle Clarence, her uncle Rivers, yea, and for her sake makes quick conveyance with her good aunt Anne.
Come, you mock me. This is not the way to win your daughter.
There is no other way, unless thou couldst put on some other shape, and not be Richard that hath done all this.
They say I did all this for love of her.
No, then indeed she cannot choose but hate thee, having bought love with such a bloody spoil.
Look, what has been done could not be now amended. Men shall deal unadvisedly sometimes, which after hours give leisure to repent. If I did take the kingdom from your sons, to make amends, I'll give it to your daughter.
What were I best to say? Her father's brother would be her lord, or shall I say her uncle, or he that slew her brothers and her uncles?
Say that the king which may command entreats.
That at her hands which the king's king forbids.
Say she shall be a high and mighty queen.
To wail the tide as a mother doth.
Say I will love her everlastingly.
But how long shall that title ever last?
Sweetly enforced until a fair life's end.
But how long fairly shall her sweet life last?
So long as heaven and nature lengthens
So
it.
long as hell and Richard likes of it.
Your reasons are too shallow and too quick.
Oh no, my reasons are too deep and dead. Too deep and dead, poor infants in their grave.
Harp not on that string, madam, that is past.
Harp on it still shall I, till heartstrings break.
By George, my garter and my crown.
Profaned, dishonoured, and the third usurped.
I swear.
By nothing, for this is no oath. Swear then by something that thou hast not wronged.
Then by myself.
All thyself misusest.
Now by the world.
Full of thy foul wrongs.
Why then by God?
God's wrong is most of all. What canst thou swear by now?
Time to come.
That thou hast wronged in the time o'er past. For I myself had many tears to wash, here after time for time past wronged by thee. The children live, whose parents thou hast slaughtered, ungoverned youth to wail it in their age. The parents live, whose children thou hast butchered, old withered plants to wail it with their age. Swear not by time to come, for that thou hast misused, ere used by the time misused thou art past.
Madam, so thrive I in my dangerous affairs of hostile arms, myself confound. Heaven and earth bar me happy hours. Day, yield me not thy light, nor night thy rest. Be opposite, all planets of good luck to my proceedings, if with pure heart's love, immaculate devotion, holy thoughts I tender not thy beauteous princely daughter. In her consists my happiness and thine. Without her follows to this land and me, to thee, herself, and many a Christian soul, death, desolation, ruin, and decay. It cannot be avoided but by this. It will not be avoided but by this. Therefore, good mother, I must call you so. Be the attorney of my love to her. Plead what I will be, not what I have been, not what I deserve, but what I will deserve. And urge the necessity and state of times, and be not peevish found in great designs.
Shall I be tempted of the devil thus?
Aye, if the devil tempt thee to do good.
Shall I forget myself to be myself?
Aye, if yourself's remembrance wrong yourself.
But thou didst kill my children.
But in your daughter's womb I bury them, where in that nest of spicery they will breathe selves of themselves to your recomfiture.
Shall I go win my daughter to thy will?
And be a happy mother by the deed.
I go. Write to me very shortly, and you shall understand from me her mind.
Bear her my true love's kiss, and so farewell. Relenting fool and shallow changing woman. And now, what's news?
None good, my lord, to please you with the hearing, nor none so bad, but it may well be told.
Hoy day, a riddle. Neither good nor bad. Why dost thou run so many mile about when thou mayst tell the tale a nearer way? Once more, what's news?
Richmond is on the seas.
There let him sink and beat the seas on him. White-livered renegade, what doth he there?
I know not, mighty sovereign, but by guess.
Well, sir, as you guess.
Stirred up by Dorset, Buckingham, and Ely. He makes for England there to claim the crown.
Is the chair empty? Is the sword swayed? Is the king dead? The empire unpossessed? Whatever of York is there alive but we, and who is England's king but great York's heir? Then tell me, what doth he upon the sea?
As for that, my liege, I cannot guess.
Unless he comes to be your liege, thou wilt revolt and fly to him, I fear.
No, mighty liege, therefore mistrust me not.
Where is thy power, then, to beat them back? Where are thy tenants and thy followers? Are they not now upon the western shore, safe conducting the rebels from the ships?
No, my good lord, my friends are in the north.
Old friends to Richard, what do they in the north when they should serve their sovereign in the west?
They have not been commanded, mighty sovereign. Please it your majesty to give me leave.
Aye. Thou wouldst be gone to join with Richmond, I fear. I will not trust you, sir.
Most mighty sovereign, you have no cause to hold my friendship doubtful. I never was nor never will be false.
Go then, muster men. But, hear you, leave behind your son, George Stanley. Look your faith be firm, or else his head's assurance is but frail.
So deal with him as I prove true to you.
My gracious sovereign,
my liege,
now in Devonshire, as I by friends
the Guildfords are in arms, and every hour you can better just flock to the raid and steal our power increase.
Out on you owls! Nothing but songs of death! Out! Out! Till you bring me better news!
Yet this good comfort bring I to your grace. The Breton navy is dispersed by tempest. Richmond in Yorkshire sent out a boat unto the shore to ask those on the banks if they were his assistants, yea or no, who answered him they came from Buckingham. Upon his party he, mistrusting them, hoisted sail and made away for Brittany.
Oh, march on, while we are up in arms, if not to fight foreign enemies, yet to beat down these rebels here at home.
Liege, the Duke of Buckingham is taken.
Yeah.
That is the best news. That the Earl of Richmond is with a mighty power landed at Milford is colder tidings, yet they must be told.
Away towards Salisbury. While we reason here, a royal battle might be won or lost. Someone take order Buckingham and be brought to me. The rest, march on with me.
Tell Richmond this from me, that in the sty of this most bloody bull, my son, George Stanley, is franked up in hold. If I revolt, off goes young George's head. The fear of that withholds my present aid. But tell me, where is princely Richmond now?
At Pembroke or at Haverfordwest in Wales.
And what men of name resort to him?
Many men more of noble fame and worth, and toward London they do bend their course, if by the way they be not fought withal.
Return unto Richmond, commend me to him, tell him the Queen hath heartily consented he shall espouse Elizabeth, her daughter. Farewell.
Fellows in arms and my most loving friends, bruised underneath the yoke of tyranny, thus far into the bowels of the land have we marched on without impediment. And here receive we from our friend Stanley lines of fair comfort and encouragement. The wretched, bloody, and usurping boar that spoiled your summer fields and fruitful vines swills your warm blood like wash and makes his trough in your emboweled bosoms. This foul swine lies now even in the centre of this isle and into the town of Leicester. Well, as we learned from Tamworth thither is but 1 day's march. Well, in God's name, cheerly on, courageous friends, to reap the harvest of perpetual peace by this one bloody trial of sharp war. True hope is swift and flies with swallows' wings. Kings it makes gods and meaner creatures king.
Here, pitch our tents even here in Bosworth Field. Who had described the number of the foe?
6,000 or 7,000 is their utmost power.
Why, our battalion trebles to that account.
Besides, the king's name is a tower of strength.
Which they upon the adverse faction want.
Up with the tent there.
Come, noble gentlemen, let us survey the vantage of the field. Go for some men of sound direction.
Yeah.
Lack no discipline, make no delay, for Lords, tomorrow is a busy day.
O thou, whose captain I account myself, look on my forces with a gracious eye. Put in their hands thy bruising irons of wrath, that we may crush down with a heavy fall the usurping helmets of our adversaries. Make us thy ministers of chastisement, that we may praise thee in the victory. To thee I do commend my watchful soul, ere I let fall the windows of mine eyes, sleeping and waking. Oh, defend me still.
And waking.
Sleeping.
Let me sit heavy on thy soul tomorrow. I who was washed to death with fulsome wine, poor Clarence, by thy guile betrayed to death. Tomorrow, in the battle, think on me, and fall thy edgeless sword, despair and die. Thou offspring of the house of Lancaster, the wronged heirs of York do pray for thee. Good angels, guide thy battle, live and flourish.
Bloody and guilty, guiltily awake, and in a bloody battle end thy days. Think on Lord Hastings, despair and die. Quiet, untroubled soul, awake, awake, arm, fight and conquer for fair England's sake.
The first was I that helped thee to the crown. The last was I that felt thy tyranny. Oh, in the battle, think on Buckingham and die in terror of thy guiltiness. Dream on. Dream on of bloody deeds and death. Fainting, despair. Despairing, yield thy breath. I died for hope, ere I could lend thee aid, but cheer thy heart, and be thou not dismayed. God and good angels fight on Richmond's side, and Richard fall in height of all his pride.
Richard, thy wife, that wretched Anne, thy wife, that never slept a quiet hour with thee, now fills thy sleep with perturbations. Tomorrow in the battle think on me, and fall thy edgeless sword, despair and die. Thy quiet soul, sleep thou a quiet sleep, dream on success and happy victory. Thy adversary's wife doth pray for thee.
Give me another horse. Bind up my wounds. Have mercy. Jesus! Soft. I did but dream. Oh, coward conscience, how dost thou afflict me? The light burns blue. 'Tis not dead midnight. Cold, fearful drops stand on my trembling flesh. What do I fear myself? There's none else by. Richard loves Richard, that is, I am I. Is there a murderer here? No. Yes, I am. Then fly. What, from myself? Great reason. Why? Lest I revenge. What, myself upon myself? Alack, I love myself. Wherefore? For any good that I myself have done unto myself? Oh no. Alas, I rather hate myself for hateful deeds committed by myself. I am a villain, yet I lie, I am not. Full of thyself, speak well. Fool, do not flatter. My conscience hath 1,000 several tongues, and every tongue brings in a several tale, and every tale condemns me for a villain. Perjury, perjury in the highest degree. Murder, stern murder in the direst degree. All several sins, all used in each degree, throng to the bar, crying, oh, guilty, guilty! I shall despair. There is no creature loves me. And if I die, no soul shall pity me. Wherefore should they, since that I find in myself no pity to myself? Methought all the souls that I'd murdered came to my tent, and everyone did threat tomorrow's vengeance on the head of Richard.
My lord!
Zoons is there?
Catesby, my lord, 'tis I. The early village crow hath twice done salutation to the morn. Your friends are up, and buckle on their armour.
More than I have said, loving countrymen, the leisure and enforcement of the time forbids to dwell upon. Yet remember this! God and our good cause fight upon our side. Richard, except those whom we fight against, had rather have us win than him they follow.
Yeah.
For what is he they follow? Truly, gentlemen, a bloody tyrant and a homicide. One raised in blood and one in blood established. One that made means to come by what he had and slaughtered those that were the means to help him. If you do swear to put a tyrant down, you sleep in peace, the tyrant being slain. If you do fight against your country's foes, your country's fat shall pay your pains the higher. Oh, in the name of God and all these rights, advance your standards. Draw your willing swords. Sound drums and trumpets, boldly and cheerfully. God and St. George, Richmond and victory!
My kingdom for a horse!
Draw, my lord, I'll help you to a horse!
Slave, I've set my life upon the cast, and I will stand the hazard of the die. I think there be 6 Richmonds in the field, 5 if I sang today instead of him. A horse! A horse! My kingdom for a horse! Victorious friends! The day is ours! The bloody donkey's dead!
And then, as we have taken the sacrament, we will unite the white rose and the red. What traitor hears me and says not amen?
Amen!
England hath long been mad and scarred herself. The brother blindly shed the brother's blood. The father rashly slaughtered his own son. The son compelled been butcher to the sire. All this divided York and Lancaster, divided in their dire division. Oh, now, let Richmond and Elizabeth, the true succeeders of each royal house, by God's fair ordinance, conjoin together. And let their heirs, God, if thy will be so, enrich the time to come with smooth-faced peace, with smiling plenty and fair prosperous days. Abate the edge of traitors, gracious Lord, that would reduce these bloody days again and make poor England weep in streams of blood. Let them not live to taste this land's increase, that would with treason wound this fair land's peace. Now, civil wounds are stopped. Peace lives again, that she may long live here. God say, Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the company of Roxby Richard III. We all sincerely hope everyone who's streaming along at home as well as here in our live studio audience, you absolutely loved your evening at the theatre. Live studio audience, how did you enjoy the show? That's a very resounding good show indeed, right? We've reached a point in the show which is one of my favourite parts of any live show. Earlier in this episode, I put the shout out for questions to ask our wonderful cast here. Normally, we get two types of questions. The first type produce an answer from our wonderful talent that us mere mortals could only pretend to understand as they give us unique insight into their craft, skill, and history. The other half of the questions normally come from scorned ex-lovers, as well as families and friends that just seek to embarrass. Hopefully, I've got a bit of a mix of both tonight. Preferably more of the second for me personally. These guys would disagree, but we are going to kick things off with a short Q&A. The first question that we have received this evening is actually directed towards our lovely director, Lexi Seculis. So, Lexi, I feel like this might be a bit of an obvious question to kick things off at. So, you are the creative mind behind Rockspear this evening, and I could probably sum this up in just 2 or 3 words. Rock plus Shakespeare ? Just go. What was the inspiration behind this?
It's a good question. So was it rock plus Shakespeare equals ? So
Yes.
I wasn't very good at maths, but
so
I'll have a go.
if you can summarize this in a mathematical equation, that would be ideal.
I think it wasn't a light bulb moment. There was a series of events which led to this. The first thing is that I'm deeply interested in and I love the rhythmical element of poetry. I think that Shakespearean verse is really only 1 or 2 steps away from singing in terms of organised sound. So I've always wanted to bring a lot of music into the show, but I needed a genius composer. I didn't have one of those until, as you guys heard, someone said, Lexi, you have to come along to this dinner. And I didn't know that there were people that I would have to meet, but then Jay said all the right things, mentioned Stephen Sondheim, and so tick, genius composer, found, done. And then I was invited once to a gig, and I don't go to gigs very often. My brother and I went, and I was amazed that everybody's standing at a music concert. And I thought, wow, everybody's standing. And they stand at the Globe. You stand if you're getting your groundling ticket. This is the Globe in London, or the pop-up Globe that our friends in New Zealand brought over here. And so I was wondering, how could I make people stand, everybody stand for an entire show? So I definitely thought that I need to cut it down to 90 minutes, first of all. But then I thought I enjoy people meeting language and experiencing languages in places that they wouldn't normally expect it. So I want people to walk in and think, I'm at a concert, and people kind of check their tickets like, babe, we're definitely going to the theatre, right? Like I want that kind of moment, which I hope occurred. And then COVID happened, COVID-19 struck, and the amazing team, Event AV Services, led by Mr. Robert Cartwright, developed this cowshed and turned it into a studio. Sorry, the cowshed was here already, and they turned it into a studio. And they asked me to host, which was a wonderful gig to get during COVID. And I was here every single Friday and Saturday, and my mind just kept going, and I was like, oh, I've got to do Rockspear. The idea of Two more things to say. I'm sorry. This is a really long maths equation. This is like physicists when they're trying to find out nuclear stuff and the equations go forever and ever and ever. Just 2 more things is I've always been fascinated by the jig and what the jig was, and you can read up a lot about how Billy Shake had a member of his company, Will Kemp, who was sort of his comedian, and he did the jig, and they had a big falling out, and Will wasn't a part of the company anymore. And there's some extant texts that talk about that what was going on was Will Kemp was making the jig so good. It was like a summary of the play, but then he was adding in all these other things that people started coming to the show just to see Will Kemp's jig. So I was thinking, gosh, so what is this little thing? What is this moment that is attached to the show but then is stealing the show? So the idea of the jig being something fuller and being extremely storytelling, I thought that'll be useful for when you see in the script, you know, a battle ensues, full stop. you see that and you're like, oh my God, So I thought, well, let's jig it out. Let's jig. So the first that you see is a war jig. War jig of the Wars of the Roses. We call it War Jig 1. And then the last one you saw is the Battle of Bosworth. But we're jigging it out. So that's it. It's a kind of lots of things that came together, and then really all of the negatives of COVID-19 in some way brought together a happy and fortunate confluence of events. And I should just say that Rise Canberra event run by Events ACT thought that during this time, they thought most wonderfully, gee, why don't we check in what creatives are doing during this time? Why don't we support them and ask them to do something for us during this winter time and COVID time? So there you go, full stop, explosion.
There it is, your director, Lexi Seculus. Lexi getting jiggy with it, I think I can say right there. There's the pun I was desperate to use. No, thank you very much. I've just been told it was terrible. I hope you disagree. Your mic's not turned on yet, but it is about to be turned on, though. Richard III over here, Mr. Dean Kerman. We do have a smart question for you. I've avoided all the nasty ones thus far. Someone in the audience wants to know, did you train in vaudeville, or did you go straight into, quote, serious theatre?
I feel like I'm having a deja vu moment. Yes, I did. I did train in vaudeville. I had, my family is, I'm the 4th generation in show business in my family line of the Kermons, and so vaudeville was part of that, and the sideshow circus kind of work and clowning and physical comedy. My father is a song and dance man, has been all his life, but also did comedy, and my brother is an iconic music theatre performer here in Australia. And for all of us, that vaudeville vein has really gone through our work. So I fell in love with serious theatre. I fell in love that I was in a play with the Sydney Theatre Company, and that was probably my first real straight play, no music, no singing, no dancing or anything like that, and it rocked my world. It was the most amazing experience. And so from there, that's when I decided, well, that's actually what I want to pursue. However, that other side of my life always ends up in my work, and it's often why people hire me to do things, because I love the dramatic work, but also, and text-heavy work, but I also bring all those other elements to it.
You are a Swiss Army actor, indeed, right there. Now, you did mention...
Work on that?
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Just sort of it right there.
Look at this guy.
That one was acceptable, but jiggy
guy.
with it wasn't. Okay. Before I do lose you, you did mention to me yesterday, so I'll be completely honest, this question was a bit of a plant. I actually received it from an audience member yesterday, but I wanted to bring it up for a second time because it got us talking about your circus training, right, and you promised me a backwards somersault this evening. So, are we going to follow through with this promise, or the other question that we couldn't answer yesterday was do you have any good jokes? So, backward somersault or a good joke?
Okay, here we go.
Oh, it's actually happening. You being serious? Please don't kill yourself. I'll probably be liable for this.
You're ready. That's right. There's no more shows. Contract's over. Insurance is done. Here we go. You're ready? No, you guys have fine. I got this. I got this. I got this. Here we go. You ready? Are you sure you're ready? I might need a little drum roll.
Make some noise if you're ready, guys. Mr. Dean Kerman, you're Richard III right there. Thank you so much. Wow, that was exciting. Well worth the wait. This reimagining of Richard III actually saw a fair bit of gender swapping throughout it, particularly the characters of Stanley, Hastings, Buckingham, and Catesby. Hopefully I've said that correctly. If I can get you guys to quickly stand up, I want to put on my journalistic hat and talk to you a bit about this role. So we are obviously joined right here by Adele Quirrell, Katerina Smalley, Heidi Silberman, and Bojana Kos as well. So one thing I want to ask the four of you, traditional male characters that you've had to put your own print on, when you are doing your research into the role, how much of the old character did you bring forward and how much new did you have to put into it yourself?
Well, I think for Buckingham, I really don't think that there was that much, specifically masculine in there. I really felt that this character absolutely could be a female character. You know, like in today's day and age, obviously we have great female politicians like Angela Merkel, and seeing women in positions of power is something that we're becoming more and more used to. So I definitely felt at complete liberty to step into this role, and I did not feel any sort of hang-ups about needing to play a man or bring any of that into my process at all. I didn't even bother, looking into the real kind of character of Buckingham. This is going to be a brand new production, and I'm going to bring my complete, fresh and unique take on it.
Wonderful. Is it the same for yourself?
I actually did look up the real Stanley and read up about him and how he made it through the War of the Roses and on, and he was like one of the few people who did manage to sort of like negotiate his way through everything and get richer and more prosperous every time he kind of jumped ship and kind of duck and weave and made it like and actually sort of like live to a ripe old age and die of old age, happy and surrounded by fat grandchildren, which I think is probably pretty rare in that day and age. But there was this one line that's like famously attributed to him, which is when Richard threatens his son, he turns to him and says, "Sire, I have other sons." And I think that's where I think it very much veered for me. And I was like, okay, I have to step away from that because I'm a new mum myself, and that is not something I would ever say. And I think that maternal thing and that was something that really kind of clicked in my head of like, yeah, it's a new take, it's a new person. I'm not that Stanley, I'm somebody else. And yeah, I got to flesh it out and create it here with all these lovely people, and it was a lot of fun.
Thank you very much, Katerina. And same for you guys as well.
I'm going to go to Hollywood for my answer.
Be back quickly.
Yeah, bye. No. Not now. No plane's taking us there. In a whole lot of writing for movies, there aren't many female characters. And if there are, then they don't talk to each other about anything except a man. And it's often recommended to screenwriters, look at your characters and then just change the gender of some of the men to women. Really, it's that simple. And I think Shakespeare was a brilliant playwright, and we didn't have to do anything to these characters. We changed the hims to her. We didn't even change the Lord to Lady because, we've got a Lord Mayor in Sydney who's a woman. And so it's just that he's that good that these are characters, and whether they happen to be male or female, our four happen to be female.
The only thing I have to add is that for Catesby in the text is always a bit of a meanie. I don't know if that came through. But in sort of collating influences, I was just lousy with options. I think audiences love a complicated woman. There was a little bit of, watching Killing Eve, and it's where people are ready for this kind of story, and for those people love those kinds of characters. So there was no shortage of things to draw from. So
absolutely fabulous. Thank you very much. Round of applause, please. My next question is being directed at Mr. Duncan Driver, who is not only a fabulous actor, but he's also the co-creative producer at Shakespeare & Co., as well as one of the co-founding members of the organisation. Surely worth a round of applause right there. Does tremendous work for us here in the ACT and giving us the arts. Our question for you is very time relevant, and it's around the creative aspect of producing this show while still maintaining those COVID regulations, in particular that social distancing, which we are certainly applying right now. But how, in terms of a creative viewpoint on it, how did you approach this show with that in mind?
Initially with some difficulty. I mean, you can get used to the rhythm of arriving at rehearsal, cleansing your hands, taking your temperature, signing in, and getting to business. But I think it's instinctual for an actor, if you're playing a scene with someone, to want to get close to them at various points. And so there was a level of frustration in having to remember 1.5 meters all of the time. But as with any rule that gets imposed in the playing of something or the creation of something, it's rules that make a game more fun. You know, a game of tennis with the net down is no kind of game at all. So I think once you establish a rule like we need to keep this much distance from each other at least at all times, in a way it opens doors to different answers, different creative possibilities that you wouldn't otherwise have thought of. So that I suppose is the best I can answer the question.
I think it's a very good answer. Thank you very much, Duncan. Shame as well, because I know Shakespeare was such a big fan of high fives and the such, so shame we couldn't see much of that this evening. I'm now going to come to Mr. Damon Baudon. I hope I said that somewhat correctly. Yeah. Absolutely butchering this, aren't I? There we go. If Richard III was here right now, what would you say to him, and what do you think he'd say to you?
Oh, look, I'm sure he wouldn't have nice words to say, but I'd say to him, I don't know, rest in peace, mate, I'm king. That's it.
That's it, nice and simple. That's worth a round of applause. A special shout out who is watching this show right now, all the way from the UK, my old stomping ground. Lydia. Lydia sent through a whole ton of questions this evening. I might only get to say one or two of them. I do apologize. But I'll ask your first one to the wonderful Lainey, please. This is a good one. I enjoy this. It might take a little bit of thinking, but that's right. We'll all stare at you awkwardly whilst you think. What's your favourite line from the play? Everyone stare.
Surely it's one of mine.
Come on, too deep and dead. You love that one, too deep and dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, too deep and dead, poor infants in their grave is a pretty good one. Or thou didst kill my children.
Said with passion as well. Thank you very much, Lainey.
Thanks.
Good little question right there. Put him on the spot. I'm going to head over to Christopher Stollery, a man of great experience, which I probably touched on a few times a little earlier in our conversation, both on stage and in front of the camera. So my question for you, again, from Lydia. Thank you, Lydia. What are some of the advantages of this format, mixing that live stream with a live studio audience?
Well, you get the immediacy of starting the show at the beginning and ending it at the end. A lot of film stuff is not like that. It's smashed into pieces and edited together later. So we get the momentum of the show as an actor, which is always nice. We also get to feed off an audience as well. Thank you, audience, for your attention and knowing that it's also preserved as well is also a great thing. I mean, so many plays you do, and there is no no record of it except maybe a mealy-mouthed review, which have been, the reviewers do a terrific job. I don't mean to speak that down at all. But of course, having a record of it can be a curse if it doesn't it doesn't go the way. But so yeah, look, you know, there's pros and cons each way, let's say. But in this case, it's great to have it streamed out, have people enjoy it beyond the ACT and beyond the here and now.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Christopher. And now I've got a quick question for the lovely Morna Bassi. Right there, we've got viewers at home who want to hear a little bit more about the rehearsal process for this, because this was whipped together in terms of theatrical terms very quickly, some 3-4 weeks worth of prep for this. So what was that process like?
Yeah, that's right. I think it was around just under a month that we had, and it was quite an intense process. I think we were rehearsing nearly 5 days a week, most weeks, and yeah, a lot of hours put in, and a lot of commitment from the crew and ensemble. So yeah, very, very intensive. Started out just as the actors doing the choreography and putting it together, I guess putting the play together, and then moving here to work with you guys, and that's been fantastic this last week to pull it all together. So very intense and a lot of commitment from everyone, but it's been a fantastic month. Feel very, very grateful to be a part of it, especially at this time, and to be able to bring theatre to Canberra and further afield. Feel very blessed to be a part of all of that.
Mona Bassi, ladies
you.
and gentlemen. Right, that is just about it from us. Before I do go, this is the second and final performance of Rockspear Richard III. So I think I might head back over to our wonderful director, Miss Lexi Seculis. Any closing comments, final thanks, final thoughts? Here we are 3-4 weeks later after this beginning. This has been in your brain for how many months or years? And now that it's come out, it's been on stage, we've had a fantastic cast, we've had a fantastic audience. How are you feeling?
The first thing is I must remember to give a shout out to Noel, Grandpa Noel, who is grandpa of one of our amazing roaming cameramen, Matt. He's watching from Queensland, is that right? Sydney, I was trying to remember lines and everything else. But no, big shout out to Noel. Thank you so much for tuning in, and to our amazing, amazing cameraman and all the team here. So how am I? I'm feeling blessed to have been able to do something in this difficult time. I'm deeply grateful to you guys for believing that this environment would be COVID safe, so coming out, because we need you. I am deeply grateful for those who are watching, because really in many ways this is an experiment. At one stage someone told me, we were deep in tech, and they said, Lexi, you do realise you're directing 2 shows, a streamed one and a live one? And I was like, no, I'm not. And I'm kind of trying to ignore that for as long as possible. But I think that is what ended up happening. But we must find a marriage between these mediums. So what I'm feeling and I'm thinking is that I hope very much that all this is just one step towards what the future will be for storytelling, because stories are there for everyone to enjoy, and what we're missing in this time is that reach and that connection. So I ask everyone to forgive the imperfections of this wild cowgirl experiment in a cowshed in Canberra, but I hope that you see and please in some way support that we're just trying to get one step closer to what the future will be for storytellers.
Ladies and gentlemen, for one last time this evening, please make some noise for the company of Rockspear Richard III. Once again, we absolutely could not do tonight without any of our partners. Ramada Canberra's Diplomat Hotel Venues Camera, rather. I came so close to the end, didn't I? Events AV Services, who are here every single week. Venues Canberra and Franco's by Camera, who've been doing the hair as well. Most importantly, thank you to our live studio audience for making the trip out this evening. Yeah. And thank you to everyone who is streaming along at home. Every single one of you that have tuned in, paid attention, talked to your friend about this. You are the people who are keeping our local art scene alive. So thank you so much. Please go forth, tell everyone else about this show, tell people about Lakespear & Co. They can visit them at lakespear.com, as well as a quick side note. And if you do want to see what other exciting events are coming up in the ACT over the next month, head to risecanberra.com. This is a part of the Where You Are Festival. There's a ton of good stuff that you can get out there and support. But finally, I'm done with rambling now. There's all my thanks for it. Again, thank you to all of you. From all of us here at Live Indie Lounge, thank you and good night.
Lakespear & Co. is Canberra's newest independent professional theatre company. We are the company behind the free summer festival called Shakespeare by the Lakes. We started with Much Ado About Nothing in 2018, then Twelfth Night in 2019, and A Midsummer Night's Dream in 2020. We have a philosophy of theatre accessibility and promotion and education for the independent scene. We provide opportunities for emerging and professional artists. We provide technique workshops for the public. We do corporate entertainment and have just completed our first winter performance, Broxpear Richard III, live streamed around the nation. We look forward to bringing you Shakespeare by the Lakes 4 in February 2021.